In a galaxy where evolutionist law and psionics reign supreme, power announces itself through genetic markers, neural signatures, and biomass superiority. The Koprulu sector knew every shade of strength, from the Zerg's adaptive horror to the Protoss' thousand-year warriors to Terran ingenuity born of desperation. What it had never witnessed was strength without reason, power without origin. A man in a yellow suit who punched through the fabric of reality because he was late for a sale. The void rift tore open 300 meters above Char's primary hatchery complex, spilling not darkness but afternoon sunlight from another universe entirely. Zerglings scattered as a figure plummeted through sulfuric clouds. Impact cratering the creep with enough force to collapse 6 spawning chambers. Overlords screeched psionic alarm across the hive cluster. Every cerebrate within 1,000 kilometers felt the disturbance ripple through the Overmind's fading network. Saitama stood up from the smoking crater, completely unharmed, and looked around at the purple organic landscape with the expression of a man who just missed his bus. "Aw, man," he muttered, brushing ash off his cape. "Not another weird dream dimension." A pack of hydralisks erupted from the creep, spine volleys shrieking toward center mass. Saitama tilted his head as dozens of bone projectiles shattered against his suit without leaving marks. He blinked at the snarling bioweapons now circling him with predatory intelligence. Oh, monsters. His face betrayed no emotion. Great! The lead hydralisk lunged. Saitama's casual backhand sent it cartwheeling 3 kilometers into a spire, the entire structure collapsing as biomass ruptured like overripe fruit. The remaining swarm froze, a universal instinct screaming that this prey item violated every evolutionary principle. Before they could process further, a psionic presence vast as continents pressed down on the hatchery complex. High orbit above Char. Aboard Leviathan, Sarah Kerrigan's eyes snapped open. The recently de-infested Queen of Blades, still human, still haunted, still commanding loyalty from Zerg who remembered her apotheosis, felt something impossible through the fragmentary swarm connection. Not a threat signature, not a psionic entity, just wrongness. A blank space that had destroyed 37 organisms with the same effort most beings used to breathe. "Abathur," she called to her evolution master. "What just killed 1/3 of our primary hatchery's defense cluster?" The hunched creature's multi-jointed limbs worked frantically over genetic sequencing displays. "Impossible. Genetic sampling shows human. Terran baseline. No augmentation, no mutation, no..." His voice cracked with scientific outrage. "Explanation inadequate. Data refuses coherence." Kerrigan's eyes narrowed. In the Koprulu sector, baseline humans died to Zergling claws. They didn't crater landing zones. "Get me visual." On screen, Saitama was examining a drone with mild curiosity, having picked it up like a puppy despite its frantic attempts to burrow away. "You guys are pretty weird," he observed. "Kinda gross, though. Do you need, like, moisturizer or something?" The drone exploded, not from violence, from sheer biological panic. Kerrigan leaned forward. "Lock coordinates. Prepare extraction swarm. If the Dominion gets scans of whatever that is..." She didn't finish. In a sector where ghost operatives and resocialized psychics served as Terran trump cards, an unknown human element meant leverage, meant weapon potential, meant she needed answers before Arcturus Mengsk weaponized another human being. Saitama, unaware he'd just become the most valuable asset in 3 species' arsenals, sighed at the trembling creep beneath his boots. "I really hope there's a supermarket around here. Tomorrow's sale day and I'm out of cabbage." Behind him, the void rift sealed. Above him, dropships burned through atmosphere. Before him, the Koprulu sector prepared to learn a terrible truth. Some power couldn't be analyzed, controlled, or understood. It could only be witnessed, and occasionally it just wanted groceries. If you want to see more characters thrown into different universes, hit subscribe and comment the character and universe you want next. The Zerg evolved through assimilation. Every strain, every adaptation, every tool in their biological arsenal came from consuming superior traits and incorporating them into the swarm's genetic matrix. Abathur had sequenced Protoss nerve clusters, Terran tactical cognition, even crystalline life forms from dead worlds. The Zerg didn't just kill, they improved through consumption. The collection swarm descended on Saitama's position with textbook efficiency. Mutalisks provided air superiority. Roaches burrowed beneath the creep's surface for ambush positioning. An infestor scuttled forward, fungal growth sacs pulsing, ready to immobilize for extraction. Kerrigan watched through overlord neural optics, analyzing posture and response time. The target stood motionless, watching the approach with the detached interest of someone observing pigeons. Biological capture authorized, Kerrigan transmitted. I want him intact. No spines, no acid. Subdue and extract. The roaches erupted. Saitama looked down as massive armored forms burst from beneath, dozens of legs meant to pin and drag prey underground. He stepped sideways. The movement appeared lazy, a half-step really, but displaced him precisely 3 meters. Every roach missed. Their momentum carried them into a tangle of chitin and confused screeching. Sorry, Saitama said reflexively. Wasn't paying attention. The infestor launched fungal growth. The parasitic mass should have rooted him in place, organic fibers stronger than steel cables binding muscle groups. It splattered against Saitama's suit and evaporated like water on a hot pan. He brushed at it absently. Weird slime. This place is seriously unsanitary. Kerrigan's jaw tightened. Mutalisk strike. Glaive worms. Minimum penetration. The flying forms dived, launching biological projectiles designed to pierce marine armor. Each worm struck Saitama dead center and shattered on impact, fragments raining around him like broken glass. He didn't even blink, just looked up with that same empty expression. Are you guys trying to fight me? It wasn't aggressive, merely curious. One mutalisk, perhaps more aggressive than its brood, descended for a direct strike. Saitama caught it mid-dive with one hand, holding the thrashing bioweapon at arm's length while it screeched and snapped uselessly. He examined it like a disappointing fish at market. You're really determined, huh? He set it down gently. But I'm not really in the mood. The mutalisk bit his head. Fangs that liquefied steel shattered against his scalp. Saitama's expression didn't change, but his hand moved. Not a punch, just a flick. The tap sent the mutalisk streaking across Char's atmosphere like a meteor. Its trajectory so perfect it would orbit the planet twice before burning up on re-entry. Aboard the Leviathan, Abathur's workstation erupted with contradictory data. Genetic sequence, human baseline. Muscle density, human baseline. Neural activity, human baseline. Force generation, impossible. 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 His claws scraped furrows in metal. Contradiction cannot exist. Physics non-compliant. Kerrigan watched Saitama sit down on a rock, looking bored, while 24 Zerg organisms circled him in confusion, instinct screaming conflicting commands. Bring him aboard. Use the full retrieval swarm if necessary, but advise against. Abathur's voice cracked. Genetic assimilation probability 0. Material violates known evolutionary pathways. Swarm integration, impossible. Sequence contains no usable data. Is normal human, cannot be normal human. Paradox, unacceptable paradox. For the first time since her de-infestation, Sarah Kerrigan felt genuine unease. The Zerg didn't fail to categorize prey. Their entire existence depended on genetic analysis. A baseline human withstanding Mutalisk strikes meant one of two things. Either their instruments were catastrophically wrong, or something in the universe's fundamental rules had just walked onto Char wearing a grocery shopping outfit. "Keep observation swarm in position," she ordered, "and contact whoever's closest in system. If he's Terran, someone made him. I want to know who." In high orbit, Dominion sensors had been tracking the biological anomaly for 6 minutes. General Warfield reviewed the data with the calm of a man who'd seen Confederate experiments, ghost program failures, and every flavor of Terran abomination. The readings still made no sense. "Confirmed human signature?" "Yes, sir. 0 cybernetics, 0 gene therapy markers. Medical scans read as a completely ordinary male, approximately late 20s, excellent cardiovascular health." The tech paused. "Sir, he just survived concentrated Zerg assault without injury, without armor. The suit he's wearing is cotton polyester blend." Warfield's prosthetic hand clenched. "Prep extraction team, full ghost contingent. If the Zerg want him, we're taking him first." On Char's surface, Saitama yawned and wondered if this weird bug planet had any convenience stores. The Dominion dropship descended through Char's ash clouds with textbook precision. Wraiths providing fighter screen, a full platoon of Marines in CMC armor, and 3 ghosts riding cloak. General Warfield believed in overwhelming force for asset acquisition. The transmission he'd received from Korhal an hour ago, directly from Emperor Mengsk's personal office, had been explicit. Retrieve the anomaly. Any cost. Saitama was lying on his back on the creep, staring at Char's crimson sky, when the Marines deployed around him in a tactical perimeter. He sat up slowly, noting the rifles all pointed his direction with the mild interest of someone watching street construction. "Civilian, you are now under protective custody of the Terran Dominion." The lead Marine's voice crackled through his helmet speaker. "Stand up slowly. Keep your hands visible." "Oh, humans." Finally, Saitama stood, relief obvious. "Do you know where the nearest city is? I've been stuck in this gross bug place and I really need to get back before. Hands behind your head. Now." Saitama blinked. "I'm not really a hands behind head kind of guy. I just need directions." A ghost materialized behind him, psi blade igniting. The glowing edge pressed against Saitama's neck, heat enough to melt through reinforced steel. His skin didn't even redden. The ghost's helmet HUD screamed errors as material analysis failed to register damage. "Sir," the ghost sub-vocalized, "blade isn't penetrating. Subject appears unaware of contact." Saitama reached up and pushed the psi blade aside like an annoying branch. "That's kind of rude. I'm just asking for help." The ghost stumbled back, training warring with impossibility. Saitama turned to face the Marines, who adjusted aim to center mass. 30 rifles, enough firepower to level a bunker. He raised a hand in greeting. "So seriously, which way to civilization? I don't have my phone and suppression fire, non-lethal neurological rounds." The volley could have dropped a zealot. Saitama stood in the impact zone as specialized ammunition designed to overload neural systems shattered against his body, each round disintegrating on contact. He looked down at himself, then at the Marines. "Okay, that's definitely rude now." A ghost moved to his blind spot, attempting close quarters takedown with a psi-enhanced nerve strike to the kidney, the kind of blow that liquefied organs. Saitama's body didn't register impact. The ghost's wrist fractured from collision with immovable resistance. "Contain him." The Marine sergeant activated a neural disruptor, banned technology that induced complete motor paralysis. The field washed over Saitama, who scratched his head. Is something supposed to be happening? I feel like you guys are trying something, but... The second ghost, desperate, attempted a psionic assault. Her training from the Ghost Academy had included breaking minds, implanting commands, shutting down cerebral functions. She pushed with enough force to vegetize a battlecruiser captain. Her sigh scream rebounded, not blocked, simply unnoticed. Saitama's mind was exactly what medical scans indicated, a normal human brain thinking about grocery lists and rent payments. There was nothing to attack, no psychic presence to assault, just mundanity, absolute impenetrable mundanity. The ghost collapsed, nose bleeding, psionic feedback concussing her own enhanced neurons. Saitama helped her up. You okay? You look sick. His hand on her shoulder should have been an opening. The third ghost appeared, sedative injector aimed for the carotid, enough tranquilizer to drop a Thor pilot. The needle shattered on Saitama's skin. The liquid dribbled uselessly down his neck. Seriously, what is... Saitama paused. Wait, are you guys trying to kidnap me? The Marines opened full automatic. Gauss rifle rounds capable of punching through reinforced bunkers created a deafening cacophony. Saitama stood in the center, expression shifting from confusion to actual annoyance. I just wanted directions, he stomped, once, frustrated. The shockwave flattened every Marine in a 50-meter radius. Not dead. Saitama didn't kill humans, but unconscious, armor systems offline, rifles scattered like toys. The wraiths overhead lost stabilization from atmospheric displacement, pilots fighting sudden turbulence. One dropship's landing struts buckled, the craft tilting dangerously. Saitama looked at the carnage with immediate regret. Ah, crap, sorry, I didn't mean to. Are you guys okay? Aboard the Hyperion, currently decloaked 300 kilometers above engagement zone, Jim Raynor watched the tactical feed with Matt Horner at his shoulder. Tell me that's doctored footage, Raynor said quietly. 4 independent satellite confirmed, sir. He just... Horner couldn't finish. Dominion's extraction team is down, Zerg swarms maintaining observation distance, and that man in the ridiculous outfit is apologizing. Raynor lit a cigar, thinking. Mengsk wanted this guy. The Zerg wanted this guy, which meant Raynor needed this guy first, not as a weapon, but to keep him away from people who'd use him as one. Prep medevac, extract before Dominion reinforcements arrive. Sir, he just took down an entire ghost detachment. How do we... We ask nicely, Matt, and we offer him something Mengsk can't. Raynor smiled grimly. A ride home. The medevac descended without weapons hot, landing thrusters kicking up ash in a controlled burn. Saitama had been trying to wake up the unconscious Marines gently, like someone attempting to revive sleeping cats, when the Raynor's Raiders insignia caught his eye. He'd seen enough movies to recognize a rebel faction when one showed up. The bay door opened. Jim Raynor stepped out alone, hands visible, cigar smoldering. Behind him, Tychus Findley's massive armored form stayed back, chain gun pointed conspicuously at the ground. A statement. We're ready but not starting. Name's Jim Raynor, the ex-marshal called out. You look lost, friend. Saitama perked up. Oh, thank God, someone reasonable. Do you know the way back to Z City? I got pulled into some kind of portal and I really need to get back before the... Z City's not on any nav charts, I know. Raynor approached slowly, noting how the guy stood in a crater of his own making, surrounded by elite Dominion forces in various states of unconsciousness without a scratch on him. But I'm guessing you're not from the Koprulu sector. The what sector? You're a long way from home. Raynor stopped 10 meters back, outside close quarters, inside conversation range. Reading people had kept him alive through the Confederate collapse and Mengsk's betrayal. This guy? Registered as genuinely confused. not dangerous despite evidence suggesting he could headbutt a battle cruiser into scrap. Can you help me get back? Working on it, but first we need to get you off Char before Dominion reinforcements arrive. They're not interested in asking nicely. Raynor gestured to the unconscious ghosts. How'd you take them down without killing anyone? I didn't want to hurt anybody, they just kept trying to stick me with needles and shoot me, so I stomped and... Saitama looked genuinely distressed. Are they gonna be okay? Tychus' voice crackled over comm. Jimmy, medical scans say they're just knocked out. Bruised egos, maybe some concussions, but alive. Raynor relaxed fractionally. Power with restraint. Rare in the Koprulu sector. You could have killed them. Why would I kill people? Saitama looked confused. They're just doing their jobs. Seemed like a misunderstanding. A man who punched through reality but wouldn't kill confused soldiers. Raynor had seen ghost operatives, Zerg cerebrates, Protoss zealots, all considered life cheap in service to bigger goals. This guy reminded him why he'd left Mengsk in the first place. Come with us. We'll figure out your situation, get you proper accommodations, no needles, no kidnapping, just answers. Saitama considered. Do you have food? Best chef in the sector aboard the Hyperion. Sold. As Saitama climbed into the medevac with the cautious optimism of someone accepting a ride from a stranger, Raynor's comm lit up. Matt Horner, urgent. Jim, Dominion battlecruiser Bucephalus just entered orbit. They're demanding we stand down and surrender the asset. Also, Horner paused. We're getting something on long range, Protoss carrier signature. No, wait, 3 carriers inbound fast. Raynor looked at Saitama, who was examining the medevac interior with tourist-like fascination. What did you do before you got here exactly? I'm a hero for fun. Fun, right. Raynor climbed aboard. Tychus, get us airborne. This just became a diplomatic incident. The medevac lifted off as Dominion dropships broke atmosphere. Aboard the lead carrier Shield of Ayur, Executor Artanis reviewed data from the Kalai archives with growing unease. The preservers had detected a disturbance, not psionic, not void-touched, but something that resonated wrong against the universe's fundamental fabric. Templar Karas, Artanis addressed his senior warrior. You sense nothing from the anomaly? The Kalai closed his eyes, nerve cords pulsing. Nothing, Executor. Where a being should shine in the Kala, there is silence, not absence, not void-touched. Corruption? Simply a mind so mundane the universe treats it as background. Mundane entities do not create shockwaves visible from orbit. Precisely. Karas's concern matched his commander's. Entaro Adun, but I believe we've discovered something the Xel'Naga never categorized. Below, Kerrigan watched 3-way intercept vectors converge on Raynor's medevac. Dominion, Protoss, Raiders, all moving to secure one confused man in a cape. She'd fought Raynor before, trusted him in ways that terrified her, knew his patterns. The swarm withdraws, she commanded. We observe. If Jim Raynor protects this anomaly, there's reason. If Mengsk wants it, there's danger. She leaned back in her command throne, residual Zerg instincts whispering warnings her human mind couldn't quite translate. But ready the Leviathan, something that breaks our genetic sequencing breaks rules. And when rules break in the Koprulu sector... The swarm finished her thought in psionic unison. We adapt. Aboard the Hyperion. Saitama accepted a plate of food from the mess hall with genuine gratitude. Around him, raiders stared. Matt Horner tried calculating containment protocols. Raynor just smoked and wondered how to explain to the most powerful man in the galaxy that he'd just become a dimensional refugee's taxi service. So, Saitama said between bites, When can I go home? 3 factions moved to intercept. Ancient Protoss sensors registered impossible contradictions. And somewhere in the void between stars, something vast and old stirred at the presence of a being who shouldn't exist. The Koprulu sector had contained the Overmind, survived Amun. Now it faced something far more dangerous. A hero who just wanted groceries. The Protoss did not rush to judgment. Millennia of warfare, the fall of Ayur, the Zerg corruption, the dark whispers of the void, all taught patience. But when Executor Artanis received data from 3 separate preservers confirming the same impossible reading, patience became academic curiosity, became strategic concern. He exists in our sight, High Templar Karas reported, standing before the grand tactical display. We observe him, record him. Yet in the Kala, in the psionic realm where all Kalai merge, he gestured helplessly. Nothing. A void, but not void touched. An absence, but not Nerazim shadow. It is as if the universe acknowledges him physically, but denies him psionically. Artanis studied the holographic feed showing Saitama eating his 3rd helping aboard the Hyperion. Simple movements, no enhanced grace. Just a man with an appetite, surrounded by nervous Terrans holding weapons they instinctively knew were useless. The preservers searched all archives, Artanis said quietly. The Xel'Naga records, the Daiul prophecies, even fragments from before the Aeon of Strife. Nothing. No mention of beings who exist outside psionic perception while maintaining physical presence. Karas's nerve cords pulsed concern. Executor, with respect, what if he is not from our cycle? The Xel'Naga created Protoss and Zerg to evolve toward purity of form and essence. But what if there are universes beyond the infinite cycle where different laws govern strength? The implications silence the carrier's bridge. Protoss philosophy centered on evolution's sacred progression. Purity of essence, purity of form, the pillars upon which Xel'Naga built reality. A being outside that framework meant either their cosmology was incomplete or something had breached the fundamental barriers between realities. Phase Smith Carax, Artanis commanded. Can our sensors determine his origin point? The engineer's hologram materialized, already shaking his head. The void rift that preceded his arrival collapsed completely. Residual energy suggests Xel'Naga architecture, specifically the temple networks we've been mapping since Amon's defeat. But Executor... Carax hesitated. The energy signature doesn't match any known artifact. It's as if something forced the rift open from the other side. He punched through, Artanis concluded. Not a question. Impossible without... Carax stopped. Checked his data. Rechecked. Executor, the energy required to breach dimensional barriers would demand either keystone-level artifacts or concentrated void essence on a planetary scale. This individual appeared to accomplish it through... The engineer's voice held pure scientific offense. Raw kinetic force. It violates conservation laws. Artanis remembered fighting the Overmind, remembered watching Tassadar sacrifice himself, remembered Zeratol's warnings about Amon, about cycles ending and beginning. The Protoss had seen galaxies burn, but they'd never seen physics simply disregard someone. Attempt communion. Executor? Karas looked startled. If the Kala cannot perceive him, we approach directly. Open a channel to the Hyperion. I will speak with this Saitama. Aboard Raynor's flagship, the communication caused immediate tension. Matt Horner pulled up Protoss translation protocols while Raynor exhaled smoke and considered angles. The Protoss wanted to talk. That meant they were confused. Confused Protoss meant everyone was flying blind. Patch him through, Raynor decided. Artanis' hologram materialized, golden armor, dignified bearing, the weight of a civilization on his shoulders. Saitama looked up from his meal, swallowed, and waved. "Oh, hey, you're one of those glowy golden aliens. That's pretty cool." The executor's mental translation matrices struggled. Protoss communication relied heavily on psionic undertones, respect, authority, shared cultural context through the Kala. Saitama's greeting registered as friendly, casual, the psionic equivalent of white noise. "I am Executor Artanis of the Protoss. We have observed your arrival and subsequent encounters. I offer greetings and seek understanding." He paused. "You are not of the Koprulu sector." "Yeah, I got pulled here by some kind of portal. Do you guys know anything about that? Everyone keeps wanting to kidnap me or study me instead of just helping me get home." Artanis felt something he hadn't experienced since his first viewing of the Overmind's death. Complete uncertainty about how to proceed. This being spoke like a child asking directions, yet sensors confirmed he'd disabled ghost operatives and withstood Zerg assault. "Your nature defies our understanding. The Kala, the psionic link binding all Kalae, perceives you as nothing. You are not void corrupted, not shadow touched, simply absent from the psionic realm." "I'm not really a psychic guy," Saitama admitted. "Just strong. Strong." Artanis repeated the word. In Kalani it held connotations of honor, discipline, centuries of training. This human said it like describing weather. "Our sensors indicate you generated force comparable to orbital bombardment through frustration." "I didn't mean to hurt anyone. They were just really persistent about the needle thing and I got annoyed." Karas leaned toward his executor, sub-vocalizing through their neural link. "He exhibits no aggression, no battle lust, no desire for dominance. Executor, in our entire history, we've never encountered power without purpose, which makes him either the most dangerous or most valuable element in the sector," Artanis responded. Aloud, he continued, "Saitama, the Terran Dominion seeks to weaponize you. The Zerg swarm seeks to comprehend you. We Protoss." He paused, choosing honesty. "We seek to understand whether your presence represents hope or catastrophe. I just want to go home and make sure I don't miss the sale." The earnestness broke through cultural barriers. Artanis, who'd led his people through exodus and apocalypse, recognized genuine truth. This being wasn't playing political games, wasn't hiding agendas. He was exactly what he appeared. Someone lost, seeking help, possessing power so absolute it bypassed the universe's fundamental rules. "Commander Raynor," Artanis addressed the feed. "I offer Protoss cooperation in protecting this individual, not as weapon but as refugee, until we understand the nature of his displacement." Raynor nodded slowly. "Appreciate that, Executor, though I'm guessing Mengsk won't—" Alarms screamed across both ships simultaneously. Dominion battlecruiser Bucephalus had locked Yamato cannon on the Hyperion. General Warfield's face appeared on emergency broadcast, expression iron. "Commander Raynor, Executor Artanis, by order of Emperor Mengsk, surrender the asset immediately or face orbital bombardment. You have 30 seconds to comply." Saitama looked up from his food. "Asset? Are they talking about me again?" 3. Civilizations converged on one confused hero. And in that moment, the Koprulu sector learned a crucial lesson. Physics was negotiable. Saitama's patience wasn't. The Yamato cannon's charging cycle created a distinctive sound, capacitors building to apocalyptic discharge, enough concentrated energy to crack a moon. Aboard the Hyperion, emergency klaxons wailed. Matt Horner barked evacuation orders. Raynor's hand moved to weapons control, knowing full well one battlecruiser against the Bucephalus meant death by attrition. Saitama stood up from the mess hall table, walked to the nearest viewport, and looked at the massive warship aiming its primary weapon at his new friends. "They're gonna shoot the ship?" "Big gun," Tychus confirmed, surprisingly calm given imminent vaporization. "Yamato cannon. Can punch through 3 meters of neo-steel. We're kinda screwed, little buddy." "That's mean." Saitama's expression didn't change, still that vacant boredom. But something in his tone made Raynor look twice. "I said I didn't want to hurt people, but if they're shooting at you guys because of me..." "Wait," Raynor started. Saitama was already gone, not running, not teleporting, just absent. One moment in the mess hall, next instant outside the ship, in space, without a suit. Matt Horner's tactical display shrieked conflicting data as sensors tracked a human figure standing in hard vacuum, cape somehow still billowing despite zero atmosphere, looking up at the battle cruiser with disappointed eyes. "Sir," Matt said slowly. "He's in space." "I can see that." "No, sir, in space, no suit, no shielding. Medical sensors read him as mildly uncomfortable." Aboard the Bucephalus, General Warfield stared at his own displays. The asset had just violated thermodynamics, fluid dynamics, and basic biology by standing in vacuum like a man enduring light rain. "Yamato cannon at 90% charge," his weapons officer reported. "Target lock on Hyperion. Anomaly is, sir, he's between us and the target." "Fire through him," Warfield ordered. Ruthless, practical. If the asset survived orbital bombardment, they'd retrieve him from debris. If not, the secret died here. Cannon at full charge, firing. The beam erupted, focused energy bright as a sun's core, the weapon that had leveled Confederate command centers and shattered Zerg hive clusters. It struck Saitama's center mass. He caught it, not deflected, not withstood, caught. One hand extended, palm out like stopping a softball. The Yamato beam splashed against his palm, diffusing into space, lethal radiation scattering harmlessly. Saitama's expression shifted from disappointed to actually annoyed. "I'm trying really hard not to break things," he called out. Sound shouldn't travel in vacuum, but somehow his voice transmitted across local comm channels. "But you guys keep shooting at people I'm having lunch with," he pushed. The gesture looked gentle, palm extended, arm straightening, no visible exertion. But the force rippled through space like reality hiccuping. The shockwave struck the Bucephalus broadside. Not destructive, not lethal, but irresistible. The entire battlecruiser, 1,500 meters of armored warship, began rotating. Slowly at first, then faster, spinning along its central axis like a thrown baton. Inside, General Warfield grabbed his command throne as artificial gravity failed. Crew members tumbled. Equipment tore free. The battlecruiser had been pushed into rotational momentum with enough force to require 3 minutes of emergency thruster burns to stabilize. Saitama floated back to the Hyperion's airlock, knocked politely. When the interior door opened, he stepped through, brushed himself off, and looked at the stunned raiders. "Sorry about that, but they were being really persistent." Raynor holstered his pistol, not that it would have mattered, and started laughing. Helpless, stress relief laughter. You just bitch-slapped a battlecruiser. I didn't want to hurt anyone, just made it go away." Aboard the Protoss carrier, Artanis watched the tactical replay 3 times. Karas stood beside him in silence. Finally, the High Templar spoke. "Executor, that was a Yamato blast, full discharge, enough energy to glass a city. I saw, old friend." He caught it with his hand. Without shielding, without psionic reinforcement, just... Karas's nerve cords pulsed pure confusion. Flesh and will, and that was enough. Artanis remembered the prophecy, the infinite cycle, Amon's attempt to reshape existence, the Xel'Naga's grand design, and now this, a man who existed outside all frameworks, following rules that predated or superseded everything the Protoss understood about reality. Carax, he commanded in full sensor sweep, not of Saitama, of the dimensional breach point. I want to know where he came from. If there is an entire universe where beings of his nature exist, the implication silenced the bridge. An entire universe of Saitamas. The Koprulu sector had barely survived the Zerg, the Protoss civil war, Amon's corruption. What would it do if an entire reality of unstoppable power decided to visit? Meanwhile, Kerrigan watched from Leviathan's command throne, Zerg swarm holding position at maximum observation range. Abathur scuttled up, genetic sequencing data streams flickering. Essence unchanged, observes vacuum exposure, cellular damage, 0. Radiation absorption, 0. Conclusion? The Evolution Master's voice carried something Kerrigan had never heard from him before, genuine fear. Conclusion? Sequence cannot improve. Evolution has no pathway. Specimen represents terminus. Dead end. Perfect in function but sterile in potential. He can't be assimilated, Kerrigan understood. Not won't be, can't be. The swarm has no mechanism to process him. Correct. Is antithesis of Zerg philosophy. Cannot adapt, cannot improve. Simply is, completely, absolutely. For a species that defined itself through evolution, Saitama represented cosmic horror, a being so fundamentally complete that improvement was conceptually impossible. Kerrigan made her decision. The swarm withdraws to secondary positions we observe only. If he proves hostile, we evacuate system. If neutral, she smiled, predatory despite her human face. We ensure he stays neutral. Back aboard the Hyperion, Raynor offered Saitama more food, while quietly calculating how to keep the most powerful being in the galaxy fed, clothed, and pointed away from civilized systems. So, Raynor ventured, this sale you keep mentioning, what kind of sale? Weekend special, meats half off. The hero who could catch nuclear fire with bare hands, the anomaly that broke Zerg genetic sequencing, the being Protoss couldn't perceive psionically. Concerned about grocery prices, Char's orbit had just become the strangest diplomatic crisis in Koprulu sector history. Sarah Kerrigan stood before the observation membrane, watching Saitama's biosignature through Overlord optics. The recently human Queen of Blades, still adjusting to voluntary control over the swarm, still haunted by 4 years of genocide wearing her shape, made a decision that would have been impossible during her infestation. We talked to him. Abathur's claws scraped in protest. Inadvisable. Specimen demonstrates 0 survival instinct. Paradox. Cannot assimilate. Cannot threaten. Cannot understand. Dialogue. Pointless. He understands lunch, Kerrigan countered, and kindness. Raynor's keeping him calm by offering food and not treating him like a weapon. Maybe that's the approach everyone's been missing. She turned to her evolution master. How quickly can you fabricate a non-threatening Zerg form? For what purpose? Because if I show up in a Leviathan, everyone starts shooting. I need something small, unarmed, clearly non-hostile. She smiled without warmth. You're brilliant at evolution, Abathur. Evolve me something that doesn't scream apocalypse. 6 hours later, a small organic pod descended toward the Hyperion's coordinates. Not a drop pod, not a biobomb, just a clearly visible capsule broadcasting Terran language in Kerrigan's voice. Jim, I need to talk to your guest. No tricks, just conversation. Raynor listened to the message 3 times, checking for vocal stress patterns he'd learned to read during their complicated history. Finally, he opened a channel. Sarah, you're asking permission to board? I'm asking you to trust me. Again, I know that's a lot. Her voice carried genuine weariness. But if what I'm seeing is real, this man isn't a weapon any of us can control. Maybe it's time we stop trying. Raynor looked at Saitama, who was reading a Terran comic book he'd found in the rec room, completely absorbed. What do you want with him? Same thing you do, to make sure Mengsk doesn't get him, and to figure out if he's the key to something bigger. A pause. I felt it when he arrived, Jim. The swarm felt it, like the universe flinched. Whatever he is, he's connected to something the Xel'Naga never categorized. 20 minutes later, Sarah Kerrigan walked through the Hyperion's airlock in human form. Jeans, tactical jacket, hair tied back, looking exactly like the ghost operative Raynor had loved before Amon's corruption. The crew tensed. Weapons stayed holstered but ready. Saitama looked up from his comic. Oh, new person, hi? Kerrigan stopped. In 4 years of commanding the swarm, wielding power that cracked planets, becoming the thing nightmares feared, she'd lost the ability to be genuinely surprised. This man radiated no psionic presence, no threat signature, just mundane humanity, while simultaneously being the most dangerous thing in this star system. Saitama, I'm Sarah Kerrigan. I control the Zerg forces that attacked you on Char. The weird bug guys, they seemed pretty scared. He looked concerned. Are they okay? I didn't mean to squish any. They're fine. Confused but fine. She sat across from him, noting Raynor's protective positioning. I need to ask you something. When you arrived, when you punched through from wherever you came from, did you feel anything? Sense anything watching? Watching? Saitama scratched his head. Not really. I was fighting this monster that could open portals, hit it kind of hard, broke through some weird barrier, then ended up in Bugland. You broke through a dimensional barrier by hitting something hard. Not a question. She'd seen the data. That should be impossible. I mean, I'm pretty strong. The understatement of the millennium. Kerrigan leaned forward. The Zerg evolve through assimilation. We consume, we adapt, we improve. You're the first thing we've ever encountered that we can't categorize. You're genetically human. Perfectly, absolutely baseline human. But you survived vacuum exposure, caught a Yamato blast, destroyed a hive cluster by stomping. She met his eyes. What are you? A hero for fun? That's not an answer. It's the only one I have, Saitama shrugged. I did some training a few years back, got strong. Now I'm strong, that's it. Abather's voice crackled through Kerrigan's comm implant. Private channel. Impossible. Muscle development requires genetic restructuring, cellular adaptation, metabolic enhancement. Training cannot produce observed force generation, lying, or delusional, or a long pause, or operates on principles outside known biology. Kerrigan switched approaches. The Zerg have been fighting Protoss and Terrans for decades. War, evolution, survival. That's what this sector knows. You don't fight like a warrior. Don't think like a soldier. You just... She gestured helplessly. React, like someone annoyed by inconvenience. I mean, yeah. I just wanted to get groceries, ended up here. Everyone keeps trying to kidnap or study or shoot me. Saitama looked genuinely frustrated. I don't want to fight anybody, I just want to go home. The rawness in his voice stopped her. Kerrigan, who'd spent years as a psionic goddess of death, recognized something she'd felt in her own brief moments of humanity restored. Homesickness. This unstoppable being, this reality-breaking anomaly, just wanted his apartment back. Jim's helping you, she said finally. So am I, not because you're useful, but because forcing you to stay would make us no better than Mengsk. She stood. The swarm won't interfere. If you need anything, defense, resources, whatever, call. Consider it an apology for the welcoming committee. Saitama brightened. Really? Thanks. You're way nicer than those guys who tried to stick me with needles. After Kerrigan left, Raynor sat down with Saitama, offering beer. The hero accepted, took a sip, made a face. Not a drinker? Tastes weird. They sat in companionable silence until Saitama asked the question that had been bothering him. Why does everyone want to kidnap me? Raynor took a long drink. Because power's rare in this sector. Real power. The kind that changes wars, topples empires, reshapes civilizations. Most folks spend their whole lives chasing even a fraction of what you've got. He looked at the hero. And you just stumbled into it by accident. Not an accident. I trained really hard. Did you train to survive space? Catch nuclear weapons? No, that just kind of happened. Raynor laughed despite everything. That's what scares them. You don't even know what you are. And if you don't know, nobody does. Across the sector, forces moved. Mengsk consolidated Dominion fleets. Artanis consulted preservers about reality breaches. Kerrigan positioned the swarm to observe, protect, and ensure this wild card stayed wild. And Saitama just wanted to find a supermarket. The Koprulu sector had survived Overmind and Alman. Now it had to survive its first accidental tourist. The Dark Templar did not trust the Kala's silence. For millennia, they'd walked apart from their Kalai brethren, severing nerve cords to preserve individuality, embracing the Void's shadow over collective communion. They knew intimately what it meant to be unseen by psionic perception. But Saitama wasn't Void-touched, wasn't shadow-blessed. He simply didn't register. Zeratul materialized aboard the Hyperion through a personal warp, bypassing shields and security with practiced ease. Raynor's hand didn't move to his gun. They'd been through too much together for that reflex. The ancient Dark Templar stood in the cargo bay, warp blade sheathed, studying the human who sat on an ammo crate reading Terran magazines. You are the anomaly, Zeratul stated. Not a question. Saitama looked up. Are you with the glowy guys or the bug guys? Neither. Both. I walk paths others cannot see. Zeratul approached slowly, every movement carrying centuries of combat experience. I am called Zeratul. I have witnessed the Overmind's birth and death, saw Amon corrupt existence itself, fought in wars that predated Terran spaceflight. He stopped 3 meters back. Yet you perplex me more than any of those horrors. I get that a lot lately. The Void whispers secrets to those who listen. It showed me the prophecy, the end of the infinite cycle, the fall of gods, the rise of a hybrid future. Zeratul's eyes blazed. But it speaks nothing of you. Not silence, not obscurity, absolute absence. As if your existence rewrites causality around itself. Saitama set down his magazine. That sounds complicated. I'm just strong. No, Zeratul's voice carried the weight of revelation. You are simple, utterly perfectly simple. In a universe where power demands psionic presence, genetic superiority, or technological enhancement, you achieved strength through... He paused, searching. What? Push-ups, sit-ups, running, eating. The Dark Templar stared. Centuries of combat, meditation, and Void communion had not prepared him for this answer. You jest. Why would I lie about exercise? Zeratul activated his warp blade, not threatening, merely demonstrating. The Void channeled energy crackled with power that could cleave through neosteel. This weapon draws from the Void itself. Dark energy, shadow made solid. It required generations of training to manifest. He dismissed it. Your power requires exercise. Pretty much. Impossible. I mean, I did it, so... Saitama shrugged. Zeratul reached out with senses honed by Void communion, seeking any connection to the dark spaces between stars. Nothing. He extended psionic feelers that had once touched the Overmind's dying thoughts. Nothing. He simply observed with eyes that had witnessed universe-ending prophecies, and saw a human, ordinary, completely devastatingly ordinary, except for the part where ordinary laws disintegrated around him. "I have walked the void," Zeratul said quietly, "seen spaces between dimensions where reality thins. The fabric your arrival tore through, it bears marks. Not Xel'Naga architecture, not Protoss warp technology, not even Zerg's biological adaptation." He leaned closer. "You punched through the walls of reality because you didn't know they were walls. I just hit the monster really hard. And the universe had no choice but to accommodate you." Zeratul sat, a rare gesture from one who rarely showed fatigue. "Tell me, Saitama, in your world are there others like you?" "Not really, I'm kind of the strongest." "And how did your civilization respond to your power?" Saitama thought. "Mostly they don't care. I'm like C-class in the Hero Association. People think I'm a cheater or a fake." Zeratul's laugh was bitter. "In the Koprulu sector, you would be worshipped as a god or weaponized as a doomsday device. Your world dismisses you?" He shook his head. "Perhaps your universe is wiser than ours. It's just different. People there have weird powers all the time. Then your arrival here is catastrophic. Not because of malice, because of displacement. You exist according to rules this universe doesn't recognize. When you exert force, reality reconciles the contradiction by giving in." Zeratul stood. "The void shows me fragments, possibilities, and in every future where you remain here, the sector transforms. Not through conquest, through your mere presence forcing existence to acknowledge different laws." "That sounds bad." "Or salvation. The prophecy spoke of cycles ending. Perhaps you are the break, the element outside calculation that forces evolution beyond programmed limits." Raynor had been listening from the doorway. "You saying he's some kind of cosmic reset button? I'm saying he's proof that the Xel'Naga's grand design is incomplete." Zeratul turned to leave, then paused. "Saitama, the Zerg assimilate, the Protoss preserve, Terrans adapt, you simply are. In a galaxy defined by constant transformation, your absolute, static nature is revolutionary." After Zeratul phased away, Saitama looked at Raynor. Was he saying something important? "I got lost around void whispers." "He's saying you broke their religion." Raynor smiled grimly. "The Protoss believe in cycles, evolution, grand purpose. You showed up and did the impossible by accident. That scares them more than the Zerg ever did." "I really didn't mean to break anything." "I know, buddy." What neither knew, Zeratul returned to the void, diving deep into spaces where reality grew thin, searching for the tier Saitama had created. He found it, healing slowly, dimensional barriers reknitting. But through the narrowing gap, he glimpsed something that made even a warrior who'd faced Amun hesitate. Another universe, one where beings of impossible power walked among ordinary humans, where hero meant something different, where a man could train to break gods and the cosmos simply allowed it. Zeratul sealed the vision away, marking it in Protoss, archives with the highest restriction. Void Fragment 777X, the simple universe. Some knowledge, he decided, the Koprulu sector wasn't ready for. Because if they knew an entire reality operated on Saitama's logic, where determination outweighed destiny, it would shatter every philosophy that kept the warring races from total annihilation. The sector survived on the belief that power had rules. Saitama was living proof that some universes didn't care about rules. And the Void remembered everything. The convergence happened on Ulnar, ancient birthplace of the Xel'Naga. Neutral ground by necessity, sacred ruins where even the Dominion tread carefully, where Zerg hive clusters avoided ancient temples, where Protoss came to commune with their creator's legacy. Artanis had called for summit. Raynor agreed. Mengsk sent General Warfield with strict orders. Even Kerrigan attended the swarm's new queen walking into the temple where Amon had once ascended. And at the center of it all, Saitama looked at the glowing Xel'Naga architecture with tourist interest. "This place is pretty," he observed. "Lots of shiny rocks." Artanis stood before representatives of 3 races that had bathed the sector in blood for decades. Behind him, Templar Karas and Phase Smith Karax monitored sensor data. Beside him, Zeratul emerged from shadow as witness. Across the chamber, General Warfield's Marines held formation, Gauss rifles ready. Kerrigan stood alone, Zerg bioforms waiting outside in respectful distance, her human form stark against ancient walls. "We stand at crossroads," Artanis began, voice resonating through Kalai translation. "An individual from outside our reality has appeared. He violates our understanding of power, evolution, and physical law. 3 options present themselves: contain him, weaponize him, or help him return home." "The Dominion's position is clear," Warfield stated. "Saitama represents unprecedented strategic asset. Containment and study serve the sector's security." "He's not an asset," Raynor cut in. "He's a person who wants to go home. We help him, or we're no better than the Confederacy." Kerrigan's laugh was sharp. "Says the man who helped me escape the swarm. Tell me, Jim, do you help everyone out of kindness or just the ones who can reshape battlefields?" "I help people who don't deserve cages." "Enough." Artanis raised a hand. "The Protoss propose cooperation. Our scientists work with Terran engineers and..." He paused, looking at Kerrigan. "With Zerg evolution masters. We locate the dimensional breach point, reverse engineer the process, send Saitama home." "And if we can't?" Warfield challenged. "If the breach is permanent? If sending him back requires Xel'Naga technology we don't possess?" Silence. Then Karax stepped forward, holographic displays blooming around him. "Executor, I've analyzed the breach signature. It matches energy patterns in this temple specifically, the infinite cycle's core mechanism. Theoretical possibility exists to recreate the dimensional puncture, but..." He gestured at swirling equations. "It requires power generation beyond our current capacity. Even the Keystone couldn't manage it." "The swarm has power," Kerrigan offered. "Billions of organisms channeling bioelectric energy simultaneously. Not elegant, but raw. Protoss have precision," Artanis added. "Warp technology and psionic focusing arrays." "Terrans have desperation and duct tape," Raynor said dryly. "Usually works." All eyes turned to Warfield. The general stood rigid, calculating. Mengsk's orders were absolute: secure the asset. But standing in Xel'Naga ruins, watching 3 civilizations offer genuine cooperation for the first time in decades, he made a command decision that would likely cost his career. Dominion resources are available, limited basis. Emperor Mengsk will be informed retroactively. Karax began mapping energy requirements while Abathur analyzed biological components. Protoss engineers consulted Nerazim Void Smiths, and Saitama sat on a stone bench watching the proceedings with the interest of someone observing a complicated board game. "They're trying really hard," he noted to Raynor. "Yeah, buddy, they are. It's nice, people helping." Saitama stood walking toward the center of the chamber where ancient Xel'Naga glyphs pulsed. "I want to help too. You are helping, just by being patient while we figure this out." "No, I mean..." Saitama looked at the symbols. When I came through, there was this feeling like pushing through thick water. Maybe if I feel it again, I could punch back through. Every scientist in the room froze. Absolutely not, Karax said immediately. Uncontrolled dimensional breaching could destabilize local space-time. We'd risk. Saitama touched a glyph. It blazed with light. The entire temple shuddered. And across Ulnar, dormant Xel'Naga mechanisms, silent since Amon's corruption, awakened. Not to Protoss psionic command, not to Zerg evolution, not to Terran technology, to simplicity. Pure absolute will applied without hesitation or doubt. The symbols recognized something they'd never encountered in the infinite cycle's history. Power without agenda, strength without corruption, a being who wanted nothing except to return home, willing to try anything to achieve it without considering impossibility. Artanis felt it through the Kala, the temple responding to Saitama's touch like a child recognizing a parent. Executor, Karas whispered. The ancient systems. They're interpreting him as Xel'Naga. Impossible, he has no psionic signature, no genetic markers. They don't care. They recognize purity, not purity of essence or form, purity of intent. The temple's core chamber opened, revealing machinery that predated Protoss civilization. Dimensional anchors, reality engines, tools the Xel'Naga used to traverse universes during their search for perfect creation. All inert for millennia, all now humming with power, responding to one bald man in a yellow cape. Kerrigan watched through Zerg-enhanced senses. He's activating Xel'Naga technology by accident, just by wanting it to work. Not accident, Zeratul observed. Consequence. His universe's laws follow different principles. Here, will is making reality accommodate. The machinery reached critical power, dimensional sensors triangulating the breach point. Karax read data streams with mounting excitement. We have it. The exact frequency, the precise dimensional coordinates. We can send him home. Saitama turned, face brightening. Really? When? 3 days. Maybe 4. We need to calibrate properly, ensure the breach opens in your specific universe and not... Karax gestured vaguely. Somewhere worse. Okay. Saitama looked genuinely happy. Thanks, everyone. You've all been really helpful. The summit dissolved into technical discussions, races cooperating with unprecedented efficiency. Warfield transmitted findings to Korhal, knowing Mengsk's fury but convinced history would validate the choice. Artanis assigned his best Templars to assist. Kerrigan provided Zerg evolution data on dimensional adaptation. And in quiet moments, Raynor found Saitama looking at the stars. Gonna miss this place? Raynor asked. Not really. Too much fighting, and the food's weird. Saitama paused. But you guys were nice, most of you, after the kidnapping stopped. Take that as a win in the Koprulu sector. Your universe is complicated. Yours isn't. Monsters attack, heroes stop them. Sometimes there's sales. Saitama shrugged. Pretty simple. Raynor laughed. Maybe we're doing it wrong then. 3 days later, the dimensional breach opened. Stable, controlled, leading home. Saitama stood at the threshold. Various faction representatives gathered to witness departure. Before you go, Artanis said formally, know that your presence, brief as it was, taught us much. About power, about humility, about possibilities we'd ceased to imagine. I mostly just wanted groceries, Saitama admitted. Precisely. The executor bowed. Entaro Adun Saitama, may your sales be plentiful. Kerrigan offered a small smile. If you ever punch through again, try not to land on Char. The swarm's still confused. Warfield saluted, crisp and professional. Dominion records will classify this encounter, but personally, hell of a thing to witness. Raynor clasped Saitama's shoulder. Stay strong, buddy, and hey, if your universe ever Needs help? You know where to find us." Saitama stepped through the breach, waving once and vanished. The portal sealed. The Koprulu sector returned to its wars, its struggles, its endless evolution. But in classified archives, restricted databases, and sacred Protoss memories, records remained. Of the day simplicity broke complexity. Of the moment an accidental tourist reminded three warring races that power without purpose was just strength. And somewhere, in a universe away, Saitama made it to the sail. With 10 minutes to spare, the Koprulu sector processed Saitama's departure through three distinct philosophical frameworks, each revealing more about the factions than the hero himself. Emperor Arcturus Mengsk reviewed General Warfield's report 3 times, each reading stoking fury. The general stood at attention, expecting execution. Instead, Mengsk archived the entire incident under Omega-level classification and dismissed him with a terse, "Don't let it happen again." Later, alone in his chambers, Mengsk accessed the sensor data, watched Saitama catch the Yamato blast, watched him activate Xel'Naga machinery through pure intent. The Emperor, who'd built power through manipulation, propaganda, and ruthless calculation, saw something that chilled him. A being completely outside his systems of control. He ordered 3 initiatives immediately: research into dimensional breach technology, psychological profiles on beings resistant to psionics, and contingency protocols titled Simple Class Threats. Then he did something he rarely permitted himself. He wondered. If an entire universe operated on Saitama's principles, where power followed effort rather than breeding or corruption, what did that say about the Dominion's eugenic ghost program? About psionic hierarchies? About everything he'd built? Mengsk deleted the thought and returned to governance. Some questions threatened the Foundations too deeply to answer. Abathur created a new classification in the Swarm's evolutionary database. Unsequenced 001, the static terminus. A category for beings' evolution could neither improve nor assimilate. He populated it with exactly 1 entry. Kerrigan felt the Swarm's unease through fragmentary connections. For a species that defined itself through constant adaptation, encountering something fundamentally unevolvable created philosophical crisis. If perfection existed outside their grasp, what did that mean for the Swarm's purpose? She made a decision that would have been impossible during her full infestation. The Swarm would remember Saitama not as failed prey, but as a reminder. That evolution had limits, that some victories involved acknowledging boundaries rather than consuming everything. In practical terms, she ordered all Cerebrits to flag similar biosignatures and avoid rather than assimilate. Some prey, she'd learned, taught more by escaping than being caught. The Preservers debated for 3 solar cycles how to record the event. Saitama violated the prophecy's framework, existed outside the infinite cycle, proved that the Xel'Naga's grand design had blind spots. Artanis made the final call. Record everything, classify nothing as heresy. The Protoss had survived by honoring tradition while embracing truth. Saitama's visit was truth, uncomfortable, paradigm-breaking truth. Zeratul added a private notation in the Void archives. The universe is larger than the cycle. This is terrifying. This is hopeful. Karax, meanwhile, incorporated dimensional breach data into Protoss warp technology. Not to traverse universes that remained beyond them, but to detect future breaches. If one accidental tourist could arrive, others might follow. The Protoss would be ready. The crew talked about Saitama for weeks. Not the power. That was too abstract. But the ordinariness. How the most dangerous being they'd encountered had been polite, confused, and primarily concerned with grocery prices. Raynor kept one artifact. The manga Saitama had been reading, left behind on the mess hall table. He never told anyone, But sometimes late at night, when the weight of revolution and responsibility crushed down, he'd flip through it and remember. Power didn't require corruption. Strength didn't demand cruelty. Somewhere in another universe, heroes operated on principles so simple the Koprulu sector had forgotten them. The ancient machinery returned to dormancy, but something remained. A resonance, as if the temple itself had learned from the encounter. Protoss, scientists monitoring the site, reported anomalies. Xel'Naga glyphs occasionally flickering with light, dimensional sensors detecting phantom readings, moments where reality seemed fractionally more flexible. Karas proposed a theory that was immediately classified. Saitama's presence had taught the ruins, shown them possibilities the Xel'Naga never intended. Evolution wasn't the only path to perfection. Sometimes simplicity worked better. The temple kept its new knowledge quietly, waiting. 3 months later, an informal agreement emerged between factions, never formalized, never acknowledged, but understood. Any dimensional breach anomalies would be investigated cooperatively before militarized. The Saitama Protocols, Raynor jokingly called them. General Warfield, rather than being executed, was promoted to head of Dominion's Anomalous Phenomena Division. Mengsk valued competence, and few commanders had successfully navigated first contact with an unweapon. Kerrigan's swarm developed new strategies focusing on adaptation around threats rather than just consuming them. The change was subtle but fundamental. Protoss archives grew to include external universe contact procedures written by Artanis himself, and in classified corners of all 3 factions, scientists worked quietly on dimensional physics. Not to conquer, not to weaponize, but to understand. Because if one universe operated on different rules, how many others existed? What else was possible? In Z City, Earth, a completely different universe, Saitama arrived home through a portal that deposited him exactly where he'd left, mid-fight with a monster he'd forgotten about. 1 punch later, he was checking his watch. Made it, 15 minutes before the sale ended. He never thought about the Koprulu sector again. Just another weird dream dimension that had interrupted grocery shopping. Happens sometimes, but in the Koprulu sector, 3 warring civilizations remembered, adapted, changed, even if infinitesimally. Because for a brief moment they'd witnessed power that followed no rules but its own, and learned the most dangerous truth in any universe. Sometimes the impossible happens not because destiny demands it, but because someone tried really hard without knowing they couldn't. The Zerg adapted their philosophy. The Protoss expanded their prophecy. The Terrans added new contingencies. And somewhere in the void, reality kept the memory of a man who broke its laws by not knowing they existed. The Koprulu sector returned to war, but it returned changed, subtly, permanently, by a hero who just wanted half-price meat. The Koprulu sector survived Saitama the way it survived everything, through adaptation, documentation, and strategic paranoia. But unlike the Overmind's death or Amon's defeat, this survival came without victory celebrations or monument construction. Just 3 factions quietly processing that the universe contained possibilities their science couldn't predict, their evolution couldn't categorize, their prophecies hadn't foreseen. General Warfield's final report to Mengsk concluded with a line that became doctrine. Some threats cannot be neutralized, only acknowledged and avoided. Kerrigan's modifications to swarm behavior patterns introduced flexibility previously considered weakness. Evolution, she decided, included knowing when not to assimilate. Artanis commissioned new preserver studies into static perfection, the philosophical possibility that some beings achieved completeness outside the infinite cycles framework. And Raynor? He kept that manga, a reminder that in infinite universes, infinite approaches existed. that the Koprulu sector's endless war wasn't inevitable, just chosen. Repeatedly. The dimensional breach at Ulnar sealed permanently, Protoss wards ensuring it stayed closed. But sensor networks monitored for similar anomalies sector-wide. The simple universe, as Zeratal's classified fragments called it, remained theoretically accessible, potentially contactable. Nobody tried. The memory of Saitama catching nuclear fire with bare hands was deterrent enough. Yet in quiet moments, when Zerg queens contemplated evolution's limits, when Protoss preservers meditated on prophecy's blindness, when Terran scientists questioned enhancement's necessity, they remembered. A man in a yellow cape, bored, invincible, kind, looking for groceries, proof that power's highest form might be choosing not to use it. The Koprulu sector would fight its wars, evolve its biology, advance its technology. But somewhere in classified databases, restricted archives, and sacred memories, knowledge remained. They weren't alone in the multiverse, and some neighbors were better left unvisited.